You will see a woman going through domestic violence, going through physical abuse, and the first thing that you have to say is, "Na she cause am." After all, if she wasn't rude, you would have not beaten her. You must be a witch to think that way. Thousands of people all over the world are going through domestic violence. Domestic violence or abuse can be described as a violent, abusive, or intimidating behavior in a relationship. It could be a family relationship, it could be a romantic relationship, or it could be just someone you know, you're close to, and you trust. There are different forms of domestic violence or abuse. It could be physical abuse, it could be emotional abuse, financial abuse, sexual abuse, or social and psychological abuse. I'll be discussing this issue in 3 parts, but in this video, I'll be talking about physical abuse. So physical abuse is any intentional act which causes injury or trauma to another person by way of bodily contact. There are 3 major groups who are vulnerable to physical abuse. They are the children, the women, and animals. In this video, I'll be talking about children and women, and that of the animals will come on later. Children all over the world are going through physical abuse in one way or another, and this abuse may come from family, it may come from caretakers, it may come from even their classmates or schoolmates, bullying, and all of that. For example, in Nigeria, we have cases, or we have had cases of women who beat up their house helps to the extent that they are being rushed to the hospital and some even die. We have had cases of women or people using hot pressing iron to press on children's bodies because they were wayward or did something wrong. In the first place, I feel like child labor should be seriously dealt with. It is a serious form of child abuse. Taking a child who doesn't even know yet how to take care of his own self or her own self, and expecting the child to act in a mature way or take care of your kids who are probably the same age as that child. That is not sensible at all. And these children may have nowhere else to go to. They may not have any way to be able to run back home. And in the case where it's their own parents physically abusing them, then it's another case where they don't even have an option to go anywhere else or to stay at home. Such cases should be dealt with, because this will, by allowing such things to happen, we are raising kids who feel like it is all right to physically abuse others. And I feel this issue should be dealt with immediately. And as a neighbor, as a good citizen, as a friend, as a brother or a sister, or a father or a mother, if you see any child being physically abused, do contact the Human Rights Commission. Another group that are vulnerable to physical abuse are women. It has been reported that an average of 300 to 500 women die every year due to physical abuse. And these are cases which have been reported, apart from cases which have been pushed under the rug and not been reported at all. I understand that men also go through physical abuse. It is not a one-way thing. Both men and women go through it. But the cases of women being abused physically cannot be compared with that of men. For the men, I even know of a story of a woman who I know personally who used to beat up her husband. She would beat him up to the extent that it's the neighbors that will come and save him. And this continued until the family had to intervene. And when they did, they packed her things and sent her out of the house. And presently, they are divorced. But such cases are very, very rare. There are so many problems that victims of physical abuse face, especially women. And the first one is family. In the case of a married woman, most times when she runs back to her family, the first instinct they have is to send her back because we have already married you off to him, and it is going to bring shame and disgrace to the family if you come back home. Or his own family will say the woman wants to disgrace them. So this issue should be left within the confines of the family and should be left as a family issue. And then at the end of the day, nobody goes to go and condemn the acts of the husband. They would rather come back to the woman and ask her to be patient. Are Hakurine. You should be patient, you should pray for him because eventually he is going to change. Very soon, it is going to be history. We have seen a lot of cases of women being chased back to their husbands' houses by their own family. And this has led to a lot of problems. Sometimes the woman's husband ends up killing her, or she drives into depression or falls into depression and ends up committing suicide and killing herself. We saw an example of that in Plateau State, where a woman who kept on running back home and the family asking her to go back to her husband's house and all of that. She went into depression, and before we knew what happened, she committed suicide and killed herself, leaving her child behind. So family need to take up a stand against domestic violence and not see it as a norm or something that just happens in marriage that will pass away. Well, family should learn to help the woman stand up against abusers. So the shame of being divorced is also another problem that women face. In Nigeria, when a woman walks out of her marriage, most times people don't even ask her what happened or what exactly it was that made her leave her matrimonial home. Instead, the first thing that comes to their mind is that she has been an unruly, impatient, and stubborn wife who is unable to submit to her husband, and that is why she left. And then the shaming comes in. People continue to shame her. She's unable to raise her head in public because she is a divorcee. And this is one big reason why most women prefer to just stay in the abusive marriages than walk out and be shamed. Another problem that women may face when trying to get out of abusive homes are some of our spiritual leaders. Most times when issues are taken to spiritual leaders to advise or to help deal with, the first thing they start is to advise you. Oh, you need to stay in your house, you need to stay in your home so that the devil will not take over. And nobody cautions the husband, or nobody condemns the husband to his face for what he did. Instead, they will say he's the head of the family and therefore you should pray for him so that God will touch his heart and change him. Really. If you need to pray for him so that God will touch his heart and change him, in such a case, you should do it from a distance. He is there, you are here, and we'll be praying so that God will touch your heart and change you in the nearest future. But staying in an abusive situation does not help. Please note that I am not talking about all spiritual leaders. I'm talking about the few. Sometimes it comes from the goodness of their hearts because they feel that homes should not be broken. But what we don't understand is that most times physical abuse does not end well. It doesn't end well at all. So it is better for spiritual leaders to wake up and find ways to curtail all of this abuse going on in their congregation. Another issue is victims' justification. I read online that 43% of women justify husbands beating their wives. Most times, people will want to help victims of this physical abuse, whether it be in marriage or in just relationships, in whichever case. Most times people want to help them, but these victims of physical abuse will keep on making up excuses for their abusers. Oh, he was drunk. He was just stressed. He's not like that. It's just that he's a very nice guy. It was just that day. He promised that it's never going to happen again. He said he was sorry. He just wanted to correct me. And listen, some even say that he beats me because he loves me. Ha. Ha. My sister or brother, in whichever case, you need to wake up and you need to love yourself enough to walk out of situations or relationships that are not good for your physical state, emotional state, or mental state. Walk out of them before it is too late, especially for women who are just in the stage of relationship. It is easier for you to even walk out because you don't have to even wonder about your kids and all of that. At that stage, you are not even obligated to even stay in the first place. There's an online series that I follow, Skinny Girls in Transit. In that series, a character, Shaliwa, started dating another character, Kwame. And I think she went late to an event he was hosting or something. And he was so angry. He grabbed her and pulled her out of the room. At first, I thought, oh, Shaliwa is a woke girl. She's a wise person. She will immediately understand that this guy is an abusive man. But before he knew it, he apologized, came with flowers and all of that, and she forgave him. It took Shaliwa seeing a man disgrace his girlfriend an ATM queue before she was able to understand the gravity of what she had put herself into. And she realized she didn't want to be that girl. And she went and confronted him. But it's not every woman that will have the opportunity to have that type of eye-opening experience. Never ever stay in any form of relationship that causes harm to you physically or emotionally or mentally or in whichever case. Another problem that women in abusive homes face are women. Their fellow women. You will see a woman going through domestic violence, going through physical abuse. And the first thing that you have to say is, nah, she caused her. After all, if she wasn't rude, you would have not beaten her. It is the way she acts, carrying herself up and down. That is what made him beat her. He needs to humble her. You must be a witch to think that way. Women are supposed to understand things that other women go through. In fact, we are the only ones who really understand how our emotions are and how we react sometimes to certain things. And then it's still the same us who will shame another woman for going through what she can't control. It is just quite unfortunate because women are supposed to be uplifting each other instead of dragging each other in the mud. So we need to move on past such and begin to uplift other women because you do not know if you will need the help of another woman some other day. It might not even be the same woman you helped. It might be somebody else who will help you when you find yourself in a difficult situation. Another big issue is the issue of children upbringing. Most times we raise girls to accept or believe that whatever comes with marriage should be accepted with good faith. And then we raise boys who believe that they are superior beings and can do whatever they feel like doing without any form of real-time restrictions. And then we end up raising timid girls who cannot stand up for themselves in cases such as physical abuse. And that is not right. Instead, we should begin to raise our children without showing those borderline differences, showing them that they should learn to respect each other irrespective of gender, and showing them their different roles and even teaching both of them different house chores. So if we raise children who have such a mindset, I believe that with time we'll see that our world is changing and this issue of physical or domestic violence in general will begin to decrease. It is actually quite unfortunate that victims of abuse or domestic violence are now left at the mercy of their abusers because of this lockdown and stay-at-home season that we are in. An article I read on Press Release Nigeria Online by Teresa Okoro states that statistics of women and girls being abused and raped on a daily basis in this period in Nigeria is scary. But it has been suppressed by the fact that everyone all over the world is looking for a solution to this pandemic, which has led to these cases of physical and domestic violence being overlooked. And it is such an unfortunate situation that these children and women have found themselves in. Are you a victim of abuse, or do you know anybody who is going through domestic violence? Please do not hesitate to contact the number on the screen. I will also write them down in the description box below. Please, please, please stand up for yourself and stand up for that child, stand up for that woman, or even that man in your neighborhood or in your family who is being abused. My heart goes out to all of those women and children who are being abused on a daily basis. May you find peace and may you find the strength to stand up for yourself. Thank you very much for watching this video. Do like the video if you found the topic we discussed today interesting. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you're new here. I'll see you in my next video. Stay safe.